The petty revenge of the cocktail waitress. Back in the early 90s, not long after my husband and I got married, I picked up a second job as a cocktail waitress at a hotel bar. Money was tight, and this local hotel had a decent bar scene, especially because it hosted a lot of conventions. Every weekend was a new crowd of conventioneers, most of them from out of town, just trying to unwind after long days of seminars and networking. Most of them were harmless. Some flirted, sure. A few would ask for my number or offer a drink, and more than a couple would flat out proposition me. But once I told them I was married, most would respectfully back off. It was part of the job, and I'd learned to deflect with a polite smile and a firm line, until I met Jim. Jim was sitting at one of my 4 top tables with a friend when I first approached. Both were early 30s, a little too slick, a little too loud. I took their drink orders, dropped them off a few minutes later, and that's when Jim asked what I was doing after work. I smiled and gave my usual reply, heading home to my husband. That usually did the trick, but not with Jim. His demeanor shifted instantly. He looked at my ring and sneered, saying it was just a decoy. He called me a liar and accused me of playing some game. I stayed professional, told him it wasn't, and reminded him it was also against company policy to date customers, even if I weren't married. That only made him angrier. Soon after, 2 of their friends joined them. I was barely at the table before one of the newcomers said, "I hear you think you're too good for my friend here." I told him, with as much grace as I could muster, that I was too married for anyone but my husband. I thought that might be the end of it. I was wrong. What followed was 90 of the longest, most infuriating minutes I'd ever worked. Every drink I brought was wrong, even when it wasn't. Every food order had some imaginary issue. Cold fries, soggy wings, too much ice. They dropped potato skins, sour cream side down, and kicked ice under the table. They spilled drinks and laughed about it. And the whole time, they made snide remarks and whispered just loud enough for me to hear. $120 worth of bar food and booze later, they paid in full and didn't leave a cent in tips. The mess was so bad my manager closed down my station early so I could clean it. I was on my hands and knees under their table, scraping food off the floor, when I noticed something small and black, an old 35mm film canister. I picked it up expecting to hear the rattle of film inside. Nothing. Curious, I popped the lid. Inside was the stickiest, dankest weed I'd ever smelled, and I'd smelled a lot. It was so tightly packed that it came out as a single compressed nugget. I slipped it into my apron, finished cleaning, and tucked it safely into my locker before heading home. About 10 minutes after that, as I was finishing up my cash out, guess who walked back in? Jim. He told the hostess he'd lost something and wanted to check the table. She let him back, and I watched as he crawled around the now spotless floor, pulling out chairs I'd just pushed in, searching every corner. He glanced at me a few times, trying to catch my eye. I didn't give him the satisfaction. I just continued counting bills, calm as can be. After a few fruitless minutes, he left. When I got home, I tossed the canister to my husband and said, "Check out this tip I got." He opened it, took one look, and laughed. We pulled out the kitchen scale and weighed the stash, a perfect 7 grams. That weed lasted us the better part of a month. We laughed, relaxed, and had an amazing weekend. It turned a night of frustration and humiliation into a month-long silver lining. I never saw Jim again. But wherever he is, I hope he knows that the waitress he tried to bully and humiliate walked away with his weed, his dignity, and one hell of a story.